Okay, folks, thank you for coming again. Quick introduction. My name is Mahesh Balan. I'm the CEO of Pravici, and Pravici was founded about 7 years ago by a group of us who primarily have been working in CRM, loyalty, marketing for the last 20-odd years. We worked for Siebel and Oracle and all the big giants. And then we started Pravici to focus and help some, be a boutique consulting first. And a couple of years ago, we got the opportunity working with a very large OEM where we were helping them with standing up a brand new loyalty system for them, wherein they expressed an interest in expanding to a partner network. And that's where the germ of the idea came from for the product, is to use blockchain as a technology. And we'll go through why that makes sense within the context of a loyalty program. So always the first question with any loyalty implementation is, why do you need, do you need a blockchain? And if you do need a blockchain, then what's the rationale behind it, right? So why do you need that? Why do we call ourselves the next generation loyalty program? Tokenized loyalty points is the name of our product. We look at some use cases, and if we have time, I know we have very limited time here, so we'll go over some of the architectural elements, or for those who are interested to talk further, we have a booth in the showcase area. Please stop by and we can spend more time. All right? So what are the facets of a next generation loyalty system? So you guys might be familiar with loyalty systems, with your airline rewards points and so on and so forth. And some of the good feature, a feature of a good loyalty system is to have a robust set of partners. So that not only can you earn points with the main company, you can earn and redeem points with a set of partners. Again, airlines have done that traditionally quite well. They have expanded to hotel chains and all sorts of other partnerships. So we believe that expanding your loyalty ecosystem through partnerships is a good idea. And the partner growth benefits in two ways. Customers have multiple places wherein they can go and earn and redeem points. They love it. Great example would be Qantas. Qantas, I'm told, has more than 50% of its memberships never fly in the airline. They actually use their loyalty reward system for all sorts of other things. They earn points by spending money with merchants and spend points with other merchants. So that's partner growth is a critical factor in all loyalty systems. One of the things that has hampered, we have been working in the loyalty space for a long time, is most loyalty systems are centralized, right? So you have a central database and your credit card records and all these things pour in over time. Sometimes you might see a redemption or an accrual that you have done posted onto your loyalty program's list of transactions even 30 days later, right? So there is some value in actually posting it to a blockchain. And then if you have a set of partners utilizing the nodes, then they are able to actually get access to this data in real time and then be able to use it to their benefit, actually the benefit of the whole ecosystem. Now, security and privacy have become very important. As we all know, we have GDPR and the California law and so on and so forth. And the concept of a self-sovereign identity, other experts are here. Ever-Nims of the world, the Sovereign Foundation. I'm sure all of you are keen to observe that. Even in Sheila Warren's presentation today morning, she brought that out as the most critical factor. And if you think about loyalty systems, it's the same issue, right? If you want to become a member of a loyalty system, the world is emerging to a time when people will be generating pairwise pseudonymous ID. They just want to give you the most minimal information. And quite frankly, companies who are running loyalty systems should welcome this, because of the stringent nature of the laws, right? People are very conscious as to how their data is stored, and here is a loyalty system, one more system that gathers all sorts of information about, potentially about a customer. So it's important that we keep that in mind when building a new loyalty application. And then private data acquisition, goes back to the same, today centralized silos are collecting information about end customers and using their data without compensating for them. One of our kind of value proposition that we want to bring to the table is one way in which you can actually compensate a customer is through giving loyalty points. For example, customer enrolls in the loyalty program, they use a pairwise DID, a pseudonymous DID, that's all you know. If you behave well, give them the right respect that they deserve by not misusing their data, you could ask for them, if you give me your zip code for 5,000 points, I'll be able to serve you better, right? And you live up to that expectation. And at any time when, again, this is where the DID concept comes into play, is they should be able to yank themselves off the system with relative ease. So I think these are important things to keep in mind in any loyalty system. Why do you need a blockchain, right? Of course, to this audience, we don't need to talk about the decentralization aspect. Today, again, the loyalty systems, the brunt of the IT task of keeping it secure and then providing all the information to the partners is on the main issuer, so to speak. Now, in a distributed system, people have access to the same data, and the reconciliation problem, which is a huge problem with most of loyalty systems, where partners are buying millions of points from the main company, issuing them. They maintain their own systems and then send the data over to the issuing company. And so there is a lot of reconciliation that happens, which we believe we can reduce the difficulty of that using a distributed ledger. And we already talked about trust and security and privacy, which become key to how you're going to onboard these customers. So in a nutshell, we enable an issuer, a main company, and a set of partners to set up a consortium, and the shared asset is really your loyalty points, right? The point of truth is the blockchain. It's not the centralized system that which we are all familiar with and which work in today's world. And it provides a secure transaction vehicle, and that's the real key. And again, as you know, in technology such as Fabric, we have the ability to secure the transaction to the level that we want to. We have private data. We can only have some data between one pair of partners. There's lots of value add in adopting a technology like this as we look into the future as to how data can be distributed, shared, as well as secured between any set of partners, right? So that's really the motivation for choosing this. And again, we talked about data privacy. I'll keep going. And the point, again, I want to stress is we have to start paying our customers for sharing data. We can't monetize their data and use it to everybody's advantage without compensating them. And again, one way to compensate is issuing loyalty points and having a robust set of partners so that they can actually get the value out of it, get the things that they want, and still have their mind share to say, hey, it's worth it for me to do business with this company. They have a good loyalty system which respects my privacy. So the opportunity in, again, most programs is the expansion, right? As time goes by, as you add more and more complementary partners, that's when they see the value in the loyalty system. And there are multiple use cases that you can think about, right? There are government organizations that can benefit by putting together a consortium of businesses or other government entities. Here, loyalty programs tend to be the ones that basically influence behavior, right? So loyalty programs can be used to get new customers, retain customers, as well as influence the behavior of a customer. And we'll see a video or an example that we have. As a matter of fact, the video that I'll show at the end of this presentation is is also featured with the Mobility Open Blockchain Initiative. They ran a competition. Mobi is a consortium of OEMs, automotive OEMs and mobility vendors. And they ran a competition called Citopia to say, hey, how can we use blockchain in a city context to improve the user experience for mobility, which is going to be a big problem, or is a big problem for a lot of big cities, congestion. How are we going to avoid this? And we presented one sliver. I mean, that's not the solution alone. There's going to be multiple solutions. One sliver of it is to again, incent human behavior by having a consortium of companies participate in a loyalty program, and we'll see that. Commercial, well-known, the airline industry, all the, travel, airline, retail, all excellent sources of, where loyalty programs make sense. And public-private partnerships, which I think is a new way of thinking. We are, for example, we are now working with some utility companies in the US, and they give a rebate program, as to, if you do things which save power, because for a utility company, it seems counterintuitive, right, that they would want you to save power. It's important because for them to have a surge of new generation, it's a huge expenditure. If they're able to manage their power distribution, that's with what they have today, it's extremely valuable for them to do this. So they do that, and we are talking to them to see how a consortium of like-minded companies and the utility company can actually put a loyalty program together. So here is a few quick examples. We are working with a big OEM, and where we see that the OEM, for years, the automotive industry has done business only through a set of dealerships and so on. But now they are realizing the world is shifting from the number of units sold, right? I mean, companies are always measured by how many millions of vehicles that you sold. It's moving to a world where you are going to be measured by the utilization of your vehicles. How many miles does a Ford or a GM, or and how do you monetize that piece, right? So all these companies are starting to start new ventures wherein they say, hey, we'll have a car sharing thing, we have peer-to-peer, and they're getting into all these businesses. And one of the first steps that they are doing is to establish a loyalty program because they can link to their customer, and then bring in other partners such as car sharing vendors and maybe even other forms of mobility, bike sharing and all these things. So they are forming consortia so that they can actually be in the mind share of a customer in a world where vehicle ownership is going to change quite dramatically. So that's and we are working with some automotive companies to we have established a pilot of our product with one of the companies and expanding it to other partner networks. The aviation industry, just to give you the math on this, right? So some of the largest airlines, Qantas, American, and I just pulled this out of the 10K of these companies, looking at 400 million, 250 million, 277 million profits. These are profits, just profits from loyalty programs. They sell millions of points to literally hundreds of partners. And we believe, and we have experience in that industry, and we know that the reconciliation problem is quite onerous right now. And like anything else, this won't solve every problem, right? But it can definitely ease a lot of those things. If you are looking at a set of transactions and set of totals, and that's in your node, that's exactly the same one that the issuer is also seeing. And therefore, I keep joking about it. At the end of the month, all you need to do is send a SQL statement to each other to go pull this data out, and it should be exactly the same, right? Because that's the promise of Fabric and our technology. So I'm going to play this video right now. And so this is, again, just to set it up, this is just one possible example of how a city could put together a consortium and then take advantage of the power of the consortium in changing human behavior and incenting people's behavior through loyalty points. So that's this example. And this was the Mobi winner for us. So, and we are proud to say that. So let me play that. Oops.
Sarasota aims to be a destination city.
I'll take that.
Getting people to their destination, that is. And that means dealing with traffic congestion. Months back, the city's transit authority, STA, decided to launch a community rewards program by leveraging the TLP Loyalty Blockchain from Pravici. Since then, thousands of citizens have downloaded the Star Mobile app, signing on easily. And many businesses are starting to participate in the consortium as well. Now, Sarasota and the STA are narrowing their target at improving the eco-friendliness of their roadways, starting with reducing congestion at peak hours. They set up an offer of points to encourage STAR members to start walking and biking more. They even invited local businesses to contribute by allowing members to redeem points for goods and services. But it's not quite enough. After getting a budget approved, the city planners identified a set of businesses that they gauged could help them reach their goal. And each of the partners got on board. As they signed on, each was allocated a subsidy of points distributed to their STAR wallets. What clever ideas and incentives will local businesses contribute? One of these partners is Footpowered, a national company that rents bikes, skateboards, and scooters. Kevin, the local administrator, decides to use his subsidy to run a special on bicycles. Rent a bike during the morning commute and get extra points. Alex is already on the fence about riding. He's been thinking about it a lot lately. Could get a lot of free coffee with those points. Well, guess that cements it. The next morning, Alex, with helmet in hand, rents himself a foot-powered commute. Behind the scenes, as the block is recorded to the ledger, the system also records time-sensitive data for later analytics. After a week of riding, Alex has enough extra points to redeem for that free coffee he's been accruing towards. Hey, even Carol's is participating in the program. Cool. Back at the STAR Operations Center, the IT leads are ready for the next phase: refine and improve. TLP's Fabric ETL has been running in the background to pull data from the blockchain down into a warehouse where the city's data scientists analyze the results of the program. The city has also been courting a rideshare company, Quick Cars, to add a partner node to the blockchain, which, once on board, will be able to run Fabric ETL for themselves. Armed with information, the city makes plans for a new round of incentives for both partners and citizens. Congestion is a complicated problem, but with hundreds of eco-conscious businesses and countless individuals contributing to the initiative, each small dent adds up to make a big difference, and TLP can help make it a reality in the journey to a Satopia. Learn more at pravici.io.
Yep, that's it. So I'll take some questions. Again, thank you for staying just before lunch. I know everybody has had a long morning, and again, we have a booth upstairs. I'd be happy to entertain more detailed questions if you guys have. You can stop by. We'll be there pretty much the next couple of days. Yes. Yeah, so typically, so far, and that's why we are looking to the world, we are starting to work with some of the distributed identity vendors. It's still at very early stage because in the real world, the reality is the follows, right? Typically, the hosting company, whoever it is, like let's say an airline or whatever, typically has an enrollment system, and they run an OAuth kind of infrastructure. So it's kind of, that's where all the data is getting collected because they are kind of the driving power behind this, right? But what we really see happening really soon, I think, and I think with all the laws and everything that's going on, I know one company that I worked with for many years that has pretty much put a halt to all projects for the first 6 months of the year so that they can comply with the California law. right? Because people went through the GDPR thing. So the current state of where we, for example, how we have done with some customers is really the authentication is done at that central level on the hosting company, because they kind of own all their members, so to speak. And then once that is done, then we, of course, use, so we kind of use the paradigm actually described in an early white paper in Fabric, right? Which is every member is enrolled as a member in Fabric, to the certificate authority. And we have a certificate which for every member, every partner. So basically, if you think about our system, it's just a collection of wallets, whether you're a partner, whether you're a member, and we are exchanging points between wallets with certain rules governing those, right? Can a member send to a member? No. Can a member send to a partner? Yes, those kind of things, right? And all these transactions, you own your wallet, provided you can give me a certificate to prove that. So the way we do it is we generate the certificate, but today the infrastructure doesn't exist where the certificate can be securely stored in a member's phone or anything like that. So we proxy that, and we actually have a database of certificates that we have generated, and then we check if whatever authentication system we use today, is it passing muster? And then we pull up the certificate and use the right certificate. So we proxy the certificate for the. Yeah, so if there are two or three modes in which this can run, right? So one is, let's again take airline points because it's easily understandable. Pretty much it's one currency, right? And then everybody kind of bows down to that one. Hertz wants to use that currency, and everybody, all the vendors say, we'll accept your airline points at varying exchange rates, right? So that's one model. Another model of consortia is where there are two different point systems and there's an exchange rate established between them, right? And that's the thing with that is that's a little bit more complicated from a human behavior perspective, right? Because the thing that you don't want the customer to lose is them thinking that somehow they're getting less value than what they perceive, because a lot of the loyalty system is the perceived value that they have. So that's a little bit more tricky. It is possible to do. As a matter of fact, in our product, we have the ability through a private channel, a pairwise channel between a main issuing company and a partner, where these rates can be maintained and adjusted. And then we can use those rates for conversions, right, from one to the other. But those are less, kind of.
I wasn't even really thinking about exchanging them.
Okay.
Thinking about keeping them
in their own silos, right?
Yeah, but on your app, you had sort of multiple vendors that were all
Yes.
the same interface with the customer.
Correct.
What a great place for them to funnel all of their.
Yes. So in just terms of design, we have the ability to have, one member account, whatever the case may be, have multiple wallets, right? So basically, it's a set of balances. So you can literally run like that, have an exchange rate between them if you want to do that. Or more ideally, most companies try to go for a single identity, right? You want a very strong identity for the point system. And then everybody else kind of just uses the same points. It's almost like currency, right? I mean, just the US dollar, all over the world, everybody will accept it, kind of thing. So that's the kind of the dream of most big loyalty applications, right? Any other? Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think about the opportunities and challenges that blockchain provides for loyalty programs.
Correct.
On the one hand, for blockchain for clients or for let's say like the coffee shop and everyone else trying to get into the consortium to effectively utilize blockchain's decentralization.
Yeah.
They need to run their own nodes, correct?
It's very good.
They're just asking another node for
Correct.
state of affairs, in which case it may well be a database.
That's right.
And then another challenge that blockchain poses as well is, with proof of work, probably proof of stake, in the sense that it's kind of different, but with proof of work, the 51% attack, right? So
Right.
whether even within this blockchain network, without these other nodes, you end up with a centralized system anyway.
Yeah. I think a great word which Brian used was this minimum viable centralization or decentralization, right? So that's the state we are in. So you bring up some very, very valid points, right? Carol's coffee shop is not conceivably going to run a node in the foreseeable future, right? Because theirs is not that big a reconciliation problem, right? But Hertz and American Airlines, for example, Hertz, which buys 20 million points a month for them to distribute away, they certainly would be motivated to run a node for a couple of reasons, right? One is the reconciliation issue that I said, which is much, much more easier. And the second is the rules of the game today. They do know by the very act of running a node, the rules can be changed without their approval, right? So that's a second level of. So we see a situation where we have some large partners who actually run the nodes, and we have the provisioning in our system so that even small partners can just participate, have a wallet. It's no different than a member, except that you have a wallet and then you are able to see your transactions from one of the nodes, right? So yeah, so that's a valid point. Great comment by the speakers on the very first day and on how American Airlines did it, right? And they were talking about how they had to kind of help their partners really adopt this, right? Saying, hey, here's your node, here's the API, this is how you do it. I'm giving the source code for the API, so nobody's trying to play any games here, and then kind of bring them forward. Because what that helps them is American Airlines, for example, American Express, they were able to kind of resolve this reconciliation issue where they had all these partners and in a traditional point-to-point system, which is what we have all worked on for many, many years, that's a very painful, and then so the partner expansion kind of stops after some time simply because it just gets onerous to have so many. You literally have human intervention checking if these reconciliations are happening correctly. Yeah.
And this is where kind of counterpoint to say that blockchain is just that database. It might be, right? But what principle, right? So what are you solving for? I think comes into play. Exactly. If you can do it faster and you just a localized database works, and there's no really, you're not solving for trust, you're not solving for transparency, you're not solving for immutability, then yeah, why do it? But if you need some of those properties, the localized database is obviously not going to support that. So I think it's a very dynamic conversation with anybody that's joining. I think something we all have to solve to make it pretty streamlined.
Yeah, and again, you can look at this whole distributed database thing, right? I mean, I'm sure you can build one, right, wherein it just has the basic properties that we need today. I need a secure way so that once a transaction is written, it cannot be mucked around with, which is a big issue because that responsibility falls on the central administrator at this point in time. All these millions of transactions they are processing through, and now, so you could solve piecemeal if you had the right technology and the right trust. I worked with distributed databases and all that all my career, and it's been a difficult problem to do just through commercial applications that I've used, right, or commercial products. But the promise in my mind of blockchain is things like distributed identities, things like zero knowledge proofs. Is how are you going to, it's not just the reconciliation problem, but also providing the infrastructure to securely store only the information that your customer wants to reveal to you, and give the power to the customer to yank it off when they don't want, right? I mean, I think these are the kind of things that we look forward to. So when we go and try to pitch our product, it's almost like nobody ever advertises today that, oh, I'm backed up by an Oracle database with a Node.js server running. You're trying to solve the problem, right? So we try to go to customers to say, new customers, especially the greenfield ones like OEMs and utility industry, to say, you know what, we have a loyalty application. It can help you, attract your customers to use your, give them loyalty points and make them earn loyalty points by buying your products and services. We just happen to use some technology which we believe is good for the next 10, 15 years and solve a number of other problems which you will face as your loyalty system expands, getting partners on, providing security for your end customer data, only gathering the data that you need to gather, and forgetting your customer when they don't want to. So all these fall under this bucket. So that's kind of how we present our product, to say, hey, we just happen to use some technology which we believe is the right way to go as we look into the future, as opposed to, hey, we are a blockchain thing. I mean, of course, to this audience, we obviously talk about that. But generally, we want to be able to say that we are doing a new way of loyalty to help solve some of these problems a little bit faster. All right, thank you very much.